Hello, my friends in Sasquatch Land. Tuesday night, yet again, and once again, Discover Sasquatch does not disappoint. Tonight, the sisters are back. The Sisters of the Moon are back in the studio to talk about their upcoming expedition in Georgia and to talk about the past expeditions in Georgia where they've had some great interactions happen. How's everybody doing in the chat tonight? Welcome all. Mr. Alfred, Squatch Father Santariga is in the house. Blue-Eyed Northern's with us tonight. Boots on the ground. How are you tonight? Miss Susan Robertson, good evening to you too. Hello, Sharon. Hello, BF Bud. Glad you guys could all make it. The ladies are all backstage. Barbara and Debbie were out in the field a little bit today, so they are in their car. They just got done a little while ago. So they're all waiting to get out, so let's get this show on the road. Without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, the Sisters of the Moon, Sandi, Debi, and Barbara.
Hey!
Good evening, ladies. How are you tonight?
We're good.
Doing great.
Doing good.
Well, thank you for coming back once again. It's always glad to see you guys back, and you guys are always full of information for everybody, and we're happy to see you back. Well, let's start the show off on what you guys have been up to since the last time you were on, and we'll head out from there.
Oh gosh, we've done a lot since that last show. Mainly we've just been going to Georgia. That's been our favorite spot to hit, and we have a lot of success up there.
We went to Brown Springs a few weeks ago. Well,
Yeah.
A couple of months ago now,
I guess a couple of months.
In Brown Springs, Oklahoma. And we were up there for 3 days.
No luck.
No luck. We haven't really had any luck ever in Brown Springs.
No, we haven't.
We've heard a few calls, but we don't know if it's other humans because it is such a popular Bigfoot place.
Right.
You know, but no real activity to speak of in Brown Springs. But
no.
But yeah, we go all over.
Oh shoot! Had we been to Washington since the last show?
Oh yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've been out to Washington State, the Olympic Peninsula, and then all the way over to the East Coast to Georgia.
And now Barbara is here in Texas with me
again,
and she's out at Caddo Lake,
real close.
And we're only like 45 minutes apart now. And Caddo Lake State Park and all of the surrounding area out here at Caddo Lake is very, very squatchy. Well known, very well known for Bigfoot.
Yeah, just a few miles from where they have the big conference in Jefferson.
Yeah.
So we're out here in Sasquatch Land.
Nice.
And I'm by the coast. I'm in South Georgia, so.
So you got the shortest trip coming up.
Yes, actually I do. I'm about 6.5 hours from where we're going to go camping in October.
Yeah. So what's it about Georgia with the three of you? What is Georgia? What is it all about?
It's just, we've been very lucky.
From the first time we stepped foot there, we've been lucky. And every time. Now, the last time we went in March, and there wasn't much cover. So it was that we heard very little. But when we went in October, it was amazing for about 4 nights in a row.
Yeah. And that's how it's been. Every October we've gone there for the last 3 years. And we've had activity. The very first few nights, it's constant activity. Once it gets dark, they start in. And it's just all sorts of good stuff.
Yeah, it is. They love to play with us there.
That's what's
Oops.
Uh-oh. Where's Cindy Bone?
I think she accidentally hit a button.
Okay.
But no, North Georgia has been consistent, and I think that's why we like it so much. It's because of its consistency and the activity that we have had there. And the last time in October last year when we went, we had very interesting time there. And I know we've talked about it a few times here in the past month or two because we have a GoFundMe up because we have this expedition planned for October, and some of the Beast crew are going to go also. Mark and Larry and Spencer Jameson are going to be going, but we're not going to interact at all with each other. We're not riding in the vehicles together up there. We'll be just us girls in our campsite, and then the guys will come up and they'll set up their location, hopefully close enough to where they can, view us. And our goal is to capture some of the activity that we're having in camp on thermals and night vision and different things that they have. Hopefully they'll get some good footage of that, because they always start out in a holla next to us. And we're sitting there in camp, and they'll start throwing rocks at us. And pretty soon they're all the way around us. We've got rocks coming in from all angles. And the activity usually continues on all night into early morning.
Yeah.
And last October, it was very, very active. The young ones would eventually stop around. We think it's young ones. That's just us, because it's just like juvenile behavior.
Yeah. Just a bunch of kids out there running around.
And then we would go into the tent usually around 1 o'clock in the morning, and then it amps up even more. You can hear them running around our tent. We have twinkle lights outside. We can see shadows and everything. And then that dies down. Usually it was around 3:30, 4 o'clock in the morning. And then about 5:30, I think it was 5:26 the first night, I looked at my phone, because we heard something outside and turned and looked, and you could see these two shadows. Well, at first you could only see the one shadow coming up towards the front of our tent. And as it got closer, its shoulders and its head, you could see it coming up over the roof of the tent. And I was kicking Sandy in the head with my foot, making sure she was awake, and so she could see it. And I told her to look up, because she was looking at the front door where you could see the shadows. And by that time, another one had come up to its left side, and it was about a foot shorter. And when she looked up, she was like, mouthing, but that happened that first night, and it went from about 5:26 until 6:30 that next morning. And then the activity stayed pretty much the same for the following few nights afterwards. It would taper off a little bit each night. And it's just an amazing sight, an amazing location.
Yeah.
Has it always just been the three of you there, or have you had larger groups?
We started out our first trip, there was 5 of us up there. And then the next trips, there would just be the 4 of us. Mine and Sandy's niece comes with us. She meets us up there. And she's part of our team when we go up there. So she'll come up there for a couple of nights. And then it'd just be the 3 of us.
Well, if I remember correctly, she was a little shaken the first time she was out there. Was she the one that was doing the whiskey, the fireball? Was that the fireball?
That's a different trip.
That's a different trip.
That was her first real
Bigfoot trip. Yeah.
It was just the 3 of them in Jefferson, which is only about, 25 minutes from where we're at right now.
Yeah.
Anybody's first trip would want to drink whiskey.
Well, it was kind of exciting. I mean, what had happened that night? Because Sandy and I, we didn't really know what was going to happen that night.
Go ahead and tell us.
Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead and fill everybody in.
Okay. Well, it was 2018. Sandy and our niece Stephanie went with us over to Jefferson to the Bigfoot conference. And we had set up in a place down by the Lake of the Pines that Debi had told us about. So we went down there and set up our tent and went to the conference, and probably got back about 11:30, 12 o'clock. And we're sitting there building a little fire and sitting in front of the tent. And Debi had just finally got around to getting her gibberish off her of the recorder, and she had sent it to me. So I picked up my phone and I asked my niece, I said, "Hey, you want to hear some Bigfoot talk?" Yeah. So I played it. And as soon as I played it the first time, I immediately played it again. Well, right after that second time, as soon as the gibberish stopped in the woods behind us, we heard these big three boom, boom, boom. And you could just feel the energy of whatever was behind us coming up to our tent. And when it got to the tent, there was at least two. They one on each side of the tent, and they just shook the trees. It had been raining a lot, and the trees were full of water, and it just shook those trees and just doused us with water. Sorry. And then they curved off and went out into the woods, and we didn't see them, but we could see the movement going through the woods. But that night, Sandy and I looked at each other like, are we going to make it out of here? Because we didn't know what was fixing to happen. It was crazy.
It was really intense.
It was, but that's when we got to thinking, did they understand that gibberish that we had recorded in Oklahoma? And it was telling them to get out of there? Because they did. They left.
Well, you never know. You never know with these guys. Probably did. They probably did.
That's the impression we got, because the night Debbie recorded it, they left after the gibberish. So, and this night in Jefferson, after I played it, they were gone. They left. No more, nothing from them.
See, the night the gibberish was recorded, we were in, me and another girl that used to be in our group were up in southeast Oklahoma, and it was just she and I, and we had activity. That was the first time we had ever been to this location. Henry had scouted it out, and we had to follow a pin to get in there. Carrie and I did, and we had activity almost from the get-go. When we were setting up the tent, it was still daylight a little bit. You know, the sun was just starting to set, and we started hearing all sorts of different animal sounds coming just right there in the wood line. And we knew that, you know, it was a cow and something that sounded like a sick chicken. Another one sounded like a whimpering dog. And then the last one sounded like a bear. And after that last one, that was kind of creepy, because we know that there are some bear, not many, but there have been bear sightings. Well, we didn't have any bear spray, but we also knew that all of these animals weren't right there together, you know, just in the wood line. But we decided to drive into town and get some bear spray. And it took us 40 minutes to get to town, and then 40 minutes back. And so we were gone a while, but while we were setting up the tent, we didn't have recorders out. We didn't know, you know, we never expected anything like that to happen. So before we left, I got a recorder and put it out there and turned it on. And when we got back, it started up again. I mean, as soon as we sat down, it was dark, it started up again. And so we had all sorts of stuff happen during the night while we were sitting outside. Had heard all sorts of different kinds of things. We heard what sounded like a mechanical power saw, something else that sounded like a motor, like a car motor or something. I mean, we'd never heard any of that stuff before, but they were all coming from that same location just inside the tree line. And then later, we decided finally later in the night to go inside the tent. And as soon as we went in, we heard several different times what sounded like a 2-syllable cough, and it would circle our tent. Then it started, when it hit the tent the first time, we were looking over our shoulder because another one was dragging something along the roof line of our tent. And it was on an area where we had put the potty. We have a little bucket that we use as a potty. And so while we're looking over our shoulders at that, something in the right front corner hits our tent. And we had recorders out, one on each side of the tent. And it just, you can hear it just like, you know, you can imagine how the tent just waves when it's hit. Well, it made this humongous sound. Well, that's when we knew that there were at least two. And it just, things continued on all night. We'd start to think, okay, it's dying down. We'd get back up in our cot because we still had our little night light on in the middle of the tent. And we'd get up and get in the middle of the tent. Then we get back in our cots. Then we get back up in the middle of the tent. And so finally, I just laid down on the floor in the center of the tent and decided, okay, if this is going to keep on, I'm just going to stay here. But finally, it died down enough. I got back up in the cot. Carrie had rolled over and had her back to me, and I'm laying there. And it was just a little before, around 3 something, I believe. We started hearing movement again outside, and I look at Carrie, and she's got her back to me, so I don't know if she's awake or not. And then you can hear what sounds like gibberish, and it's just like blah 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 blah, and it sounded like another one answered it the same way, blah 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 blah. And then from where they were at to where we were at in our tent, another one in the middle, it sounded like, because it sounded closer, sounded a little more stern, you know. It had like blah 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 blah, and it was just, I was like, holy crap. And I look over at Carrie, she's not up. And just as soon as it finished, you know, talking or whatever it's doing, getting on to them, sounded like it was getting on to them. You could hear wood snapping, and then you could hear it splintering, and then you could tell there a tree was crashing. And I jumped up and I went over there and I hit Carrie on her shoulder, and she looked up at me and I did like that, like, are you hearing this? And she nodded her head, yeah. And so the tree crashed. Well, we found out later that Henry evidently had been driving down the road coming into our camp. We never knew when she was going to get there. But so the next morning, you know, everything died down after that. And we eventually fell back to sleep. Well, at 6:30 that next morning, we heard stuff going on outside. And I remember thinking, oh my God, again? And when I opened my eyes, it was daylight. And so I looked out the window, and that's when I saw Henry out there. And I ran out there, and I'm like, where have you been? You know, you don't know what you missed. And she said, hold up just a second. Before you tell me anything, let me tell you what I saw when I pulled in last night. And she said, when she came in and pulled in, her lights hit the tent, and she could see something running away from the left corner of our tent. There's a ridge line that circles back around. And she said she could see, she pointed down to her calf, and she said, I could see this. And she's, you know, pointing to her calf, and it was up in the air like it was running. And so I'm telling her now, after she told me that, I'm telling her all the stuff that had happened, and then a tree crashed. And she said, just as I pulled in and had parked, I heard that tree crashing. And so we're thinking now, we think it was just 2 of them messing with us that night. And so now we're kind of thinking, did a third one, maybe a mama, daddy, a brother, sister, whatever, see headlights coming down the road and come over there to tell the younger ones, somebody's coming, you better get out of here.
Right. No, sounds about right.
Push the tree down. And so, but that's the night that the gibberish was recorded. And the next day, later on, after Henry arrived that morning, Barbara got there about 10 o'clock in the morning. And then that evening, as we're setting stuff out again, getting it ready, Barbara and them had been hanging glow necklaces along the tree line. And I put a recorder out early that night. I put it out at 7:30 before it got dark. I hung one over to the left, kind of. And I'd said, what night it was and what time it was. And I had zip tied it, went over to this other tree a good distance apart. And while I'm hanging up this other one, from the area where that recorder that I just hung up was, I heard what sounded like a 2-syllable cough again. And I thought it was Barbara still hanging out glow necklaces and just joking around, because I had talked about how it sounded like a 2-syllable cough circling us the night before. And on the recorder, you can hear me say, there's Miss Barbara. Barbara. And she doesn't answer. And I go, Barbara? And so she steps out from way back behind me, out of the tent. And she goes, what? And I said, did you just cough? Because that's what we thought it was the first night. And still at that time thought it was just coughs. And she goes, no. And I said, did any of y'all cough? And no. And then I'm like, okay, wait a minute.
Here I come.
You can hear it all on the recorder. So I hightail it back up there, and I'm telling them what I just heard. So we had more activity then, later that evening. And then we decided to stay a third night because of all the activity we had the first 2 nights. And so I called in sick. And
with my phone number.
Yeah, with her phone number. And we ended up staying the next night. And each night it was a little less. And so fast forward a few months later, because I'm horrible about listening to audio. I knew what was on there, you know. So Mark and Larry, you know, I'd met them by that time. And I sent it to Mark, and he clipped it, and everything, kind of took the static and the noise and everything out of there for us. And you can hear the gibberish really well. But that second night, when I thought it was a 2-syllable cough and Barbara joking with me, we didn't analyze that for a while, because I didn't even really think about it after that. We were so excited about the gibberish being caught on the recorder. So a few months after that, we were all up in Arkansas, and it was on, I think it was on Shelly's laptop, or I can't remember whose laptop it was on. And he said, you need to listen to this. And when you listened to it, what I thought was, so that's how it sounded. It sounded like to my naked ear. But when you listen to it on the audio, you can hear it go, hey, Debi. Plain as freaking day.
Yes.
I mean, that freaked me out.
Yes.
And so now I don't know if what we were thinking were 2-syllable coughs that first night were actually it trying to say my name. But I do remember when I heard it that second night, and I thought it was Barbara, I looked right over there at her, just like that, because it came from where I had just been.
Yeah.
And there was nobody there. But it sounds like it was right up on that recorder. It almost sounds like it's whispering.
Whisper. It does.
And that was the first time I ever started considering the possibility that they could float, because I was dead set against all of that. And we were relatively brand new to, you know, getting out there and stuff.
Yeah, that was our first year.
That was our first year.
Yeah.
And so, you know, you start changing your thoughts on things once you start experiencing things that you can't explain.
Yeah.
And I was sad about, they're flesh and blood, they can't cloak, none of that. But when I looked over there and there's nothing there, yet something whispered in that audio recorder, that would freak me the heck out.
Now, a lot of people would call that paranormal, but you guys are getting you're getting the flesh and blood part while this is going on at the same time. So you got to put one and one together. You know, they got to be able to throw their voices, or they do something. There's something special about what they do, and who knows what it is, but it's pretty amazing. Pretty amazing when it happens. What kind of equipment were you guys using back then when you first started?
Just our little old Walmart recorders.
That's all we had.
Yeah.
That was an Olympus recorder.
Yeah.
That gibberish and Hey Debi was recorded on.
Right.
Just a simple little $40 recorder.
So after these last few years since all this has happened, now you guys want the GoFundMe, and you guys are going swinging into Georgia. You are going after Georgia this time. No ifs, ands, or buts. You guys are coming lock and loaded. Why is that? Why now? Why is this happening?
Because it's such an active spot, and the last time we went up there, we shared a little bit on the beach page. We would broadcast while we were out there, and we just found out people want to know what we're doing. So we want to be able to share better. We want to have better recordings. We want to have possibly some video to share. We just want to up our game. We want to share better.
And it's been so consistently active there. Every time we've gone in October for 3 years now, I mean, consistently active. And we're thinking, okay, every night they come in, they start off with throwing rocks at us, then they start circling us, and they'll keep messing with us. This last time, while I was live, they were throwing rocks and everything. Yeah. You could hear movement, and they come in close to camp, And so at one point I was going to go into the tent to get something, and I was live at the time.
Yeah.
And I'm walking up to the tent, and as I get close to the tent, you could hear something run up from the backside of the tent. And it scared me. I mean, it startled me for sure. And I think I said a few choice words, you know, and ran away. And I was like, could y'all hear that? And they heard it sitting in camp. And so I asked the live feed, I'm like, could y'all hear that? And several of them could, you know, they had headphones on or earbuds in, and they could hear it. And they're like, you got bluff charged. And I was like, it scared the crap out of me.
Yeah.
Of course, I didn't say crap. But
you know, I remember them throwing things on the tent too, Debbie.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
And that's another reason why you took off back to the campfire.
Yeah, I mean, they picked up handful. The very first year we were there, we had 2 tents. Yeah, and me and Patty were in one, and Barbara and Sandi and Stephanie, their niece, were in the other. And we had them facing each other, kind of long ways, where my door was connected to Sandi's tent door, and we could interact with each other in there. And at one point, on the corner of Sandi's tent, there's a trail, a game trail that goes off down through the woods right there where we set up our tent. And that's why we set it there. And they always come up through that trail. I've ran black thread between the trees.
Yeah.
And I'm the tallest one, and I'm 5'9". And so I raise my arms as high as I can get it, and I tie the thread up there. And it's been broken several times through there. But it's like they just scooped up a handful of dirt and sand and rocks and acorns and whatever they could get. Chunked it on the tent, hit Sandi's tent, and slid all the way across the roof of her tent onto mine and Patty's tent. And that same night, one came up in the middle of the night. Patty was a very, very light sleeper, and she kept hearing something, and it came around all the way to the front of the tent, which is, when I say front, I mean the part that's facing the campfire. And we still had the campfire going. We always stoke it. And it walked past our tents and went over to the table that we had in front of Sandi's tent that we normally had our food and stuff on, but we always put that up because there's bear there. And then it came back. It messed with stuff on the table, and then it came back the same way it came in. And when it came back through, she could see the full shadow of it. She said she could see it swinging its arm as it walked, and that it hung way down below the knee. And she said she could even see a little tuft of hair sticking up on the front part of its head. And so she was trying to reach me. I'm over in my cot. Now we put our cots where we can hit each other or kick each other in the head. But she was trying to reach me, and she ended up grabbing a little bitty strand of my hair and pulled it. And when I woke up and looked at her, she's going, pointing, trying to tell me I'm doing things like that. But it's hilarious. We have such a good time, but we have such good activity up there. Do. And so North Georgia is our favorite. I think I speak for all of us.
Yeah.
When I say it's our favorite location.
It's our most consistent every time we go there. And now the last time we went in March, like I said, there wasn't that much activity, but we did have some.
Yeah.
We did have a little. Enough that we know they're still there.
We even began questioning if they were there at first.
We did.
But they had also gone in and had like a controlled burn, and they had dug a trench for some reason, which I don't even think it was a trench. It was just a little ditch looking thing that was about 8 feet long, and dug up a stump that was right behind where we always put our tent. And it was just no leaves were on the tree in March.
It was bare.
We were there. It was bare. So there was a rock that hit real close to her head the first night, wasn't it? Was it the first or second night?
It was during the day when the rock came in. I was sitting in the doorway of the tent. It was really cold up there, and big storm was coming in, and we had our gazebo and tent covered in tarp. So I was sitting in the doorway with my back out, And about 2 feet away from my head, straight in from the side, that rock came in hard.
And we were inside the gazebo and we
Yeah.
heard it hit that tarp and we both just perked up and we were like, was that a rock?
Yeah. Hey.
Yeah, and it was real close to my head.
Yeah, that's my favorite part. I don't know how good it is to be your favorite part, but I love when they throw the rocks because there's nothing else out in the woods that throws rocks. Period.
Right.
A raccoon's not throwing a rock at you. The only other possibility is a human, and you know you could rule that right out because you'd be able to see them, know where it's coming from. So I talked to Debi yesterday, and she told me a list of the stuff. I know some of it's under wraps and some of this. I want each of you to tell your favorite experience at your Georgia spot and what piece of equipment that you are looking very forward to using that you think that's going to help in that experience you had at your spot. And each of you tell your little favorite story.
Oh my goodness. I want to go first.
Go.
My favorite experience to me was when we were all sitting around the campfire, and it was when Stephanie and Patty were there and Barbara and Debbie. And Debbie's like, something just come flying through the woods, and a rock and some acorns hit a bucket that was seated between me and Patty. I still have the rock, actually. To me, that was just amazing. And Debbie actually seen it as it was coming through the air towards the bucket because she couldn't believe what she was seeing.
And I even shouted out, rock.
Yeah.
And it was a pretty good size rock. I took that rock home with me. I have it in my possession. I actually looked at it the other day and I was touching it going, oh my goodness, a creature touched this.
Right.
Yeah.
That's awesome. And what without giving away any of the secrets, what piece of equipment are you looking most forward to using? I don't know what you guys are going to give up or.
Well, we're getting all kinds, but I'm really, really, really excited about the blinds that we'll be able to see out.
Go ahead and talk about it.
Yeah.
I'm excited about being able to look out and seeing everything around us through a tent, the blind, and they can't see in. I'm super excited about that.
You guys have a lot of interaction around your tent, so I'm not going to give away any secrets. I know the secrets. That's all I'm saying, and I think it's going to work like a charm.
I hope so.
Let's cross it in.
Yeah, we're hoping so.
Okay, who's next?
Go ahead, Debbie.
Favorite. Golly, that's a hard one, really.
Yeah, it is.
That what Sandi talked about, that was on our first trip, and that was really exciting. And but
Need to tell them about that.
oh yeah, that this last October, it was a little different one night. It's always usually, it seems like they start throwing the rocks. We think it's juveniles and stuff, lighthearted. We even will get onto them sometimes and say, okay, now you're getting too close with those rocks. Stop. And it literally stops for a little while. And then they'll start again. They hit Barbara's car one time with a big rock. And we were like, okay, don't do this. Don't do this. It's just, we try to interact with them. But the first night we were there, this last October, it had been really good activity. I don't know if you've heard the story. I mean, we've told it quite a bit, but that's when Barbara had gotten there before any of us. And this guy was camping on down from her. And she had talked to him then, but he was a good ways away. He was about a half a mile away, I think about a mile. And so when he had seen her, she was by herself. And he didn't know that anybody else was coming. And so after Sandi and I get there, by this time it's dark. And she had told us about, she had met this young guy and everything, and where he was at. And so we're out there in the middle of the night, dark, and I'm standing up facing out where the road would be. And they're both sitting at an angle. And I see this guy walk up to the edge coming into our camp. He doesn't have a hat on, no headlamp, no flashlight, nothing. It's pitch black. And he's walking into our camp carrying a 3-foot sword. And so I'm like, y'all, there's a guy with a sword.
Yeah.
And Barbara turns and looks and she goes, that's that guy. And so we kind of got onto him a little bit about that. It's dangerous to walk into women's camp with a sword, for one thing, especially without announcing yourself, because that's a good way to get shot. We let them know we all had guns, because now we're thinking this guy's a lunatic.
That's what we
I mean,
thought.
he literally had a 3-foot sword, but
And he's got it raised up over his head
Yeah.
the whole time.
and he was freaked out, and he was literally asking if we had heard this Medusa scream. And we're all thinking Medusa scream. It wasn't registering with us, you know. And he goes on and talking about it. And he said it sounds like a pterodactyl and all that. And we're still thinking, okay, this guy's on something. And anyway, he's on and on about it. And I told him, you know, it's not, don't walk into camp like that, because that's a good way to get hurt. And Barbara said, you know, she got on to him. She was a little more stern with him. And he said, "Guy, I was just trying to help you. I knew you were here by yourself." And I'm thinking, okay, great. Now we've got him pissed off at us.
He's gonna be mad at us.
Yeah, and he just turns and he's leaving. And so as he leaves, I tell Barbara and Sandy, I'm like, you know, he could come right up in that hollow over there and be watching us. And I said, we couldn't get over the fact that he had walked in the dark. And anyway, he's, you know, I said, let's go check and make sure he's back at camp, because I'm going to be worried if he's not, you know, the rest of the night.
Right.
And so we get in Sandy's truck and we drive over there, and his truck is parked down there in the hall, in a little hollow area where he's at. And we don't see him anywhere, but the door to his truck's open, the light's on inside, and he's got a pile of clothes in the center of it. And when we pull up, I'm in the back seat and Barbara's in the passenger and Sandy's driving, and we holler out, "Hello." He comes out of the wood line with that sword again, but this time he's shaking. And he's like, "Did y'all just hear that? Please tell me you heard that." And we're like, "No, we just came to check on you and make sure you're okay, that you got back to camp." We're trying to make nice with him so he don't kill us in the middle of the night.
Yeah.
And he goes, "That thing just let out this moan, and it had," and he puts his hands right here and he's shaking, and he goes, "It had to have massive lungs." And we're thinking now, oh yeah, we know what he's talking about now. And so we're like, okay, well, we just wanted to make sure you're okay. So we head back to camp. Well, when we get back to camp, all sorts of stuff starts happening in our camp, like normal, you know, rocks and everything. It goes on. We ended up finally about 1:30, 2 o'clock in the morning. We're in the tent, and they stopped about, I think it was like 3 o'clock, a little after 3. The last time I looked at my phone, it was 3, a little after 3 o'clock. And then it started dying down after that. And then we fell asleep. Well, about 5, I think I looked at my clock again on my phone, and it was 5:26, I think. And we heard this vehicle rolling, just rushing by. And we think it was him, because he was the only one on the mountain at that time. And I woke up, you know, and heard it, and I put my ear up. Had my head at the front of the tent by the door, and Sandy was at my foot going lengthwise down that way. And then Barbara was at her foot going, and Barbara could see the front of the tent. And so I had turned my head, and when I did, I could see a shadow moving towards the tent. And we had a little bit of fire going, so it was enough to make this shadow. And as I'm seeing it and it's getting closer, it's getting bigger and bigger, you know, as it's getting closer. And so I start kicking Sandy in the head, trying to wake her up. And at the same time she's waking up, you can see this other one come up to its left side of the big one. And the other one's about a foot shorter than the big one. And by the time she is looking, they both on the top of the roof line, you can see its shoulders and its head on each one. And I tell her, look up. And she just looks up there, and she's like, you know, mouthing. And she's kicking Barbara, I think. And Barbara was already awake. And so these two bigger ones moved into our camp after the little ones had left. And while I say they're bigger, not only were they big because of the shadows, but we know shadows can distort height. But the feel was so much different than it's ever been when it's just been the playful ones there. And it was a totally different feel. When they were walking up, I literally had like a feel of dread. and I've never, ever felt that before out there. And they walked around the side, and they went behind our tent. You could hear just slow, methodic footsteps. It wasn't the running around, playful, kidding with us like the younger ones, or what we think are younger ones do every time. This definitely felt like it was the bigger ones. And I think I even mouthed to Sandy, it's the big guys. And
you did.
Yeah. And so they went around. I mean, you could hear them walking around, and they were in our camp for almost an hour. And about 6:20, it was 5:30 and 6:26. That's what it was. At 6:26, we heard the Medusa scream that guy was talking about. We didn't know how in the world he got that name and pterodactyl and all that, but from the back left corner of our tent, it was this high-pitched scream, and we kind of looked at each other like, what the hell? And because if it had not had a whoop on the end of it, we'd have said, we don't know what the heck that was. And just a few seconds later, it did it again, and it had a whoop on the end of it. So 2 times it screamed. But what's so weird about that, they left after that. That's not the weird part. They left, and we didn't have any more movement. We waited a few minutes. There was nothing. The sun starts coming up. It's starting to get a little bit of daylight. And so we start talking. And my recorder, I'm excited because my recorder was right out there where that scream came from. And so I'm like, oh, heck yeah. And I'm all excited because I think I've got all this on there. We're talking inside the tent. You can hear that on my recorder. Sandy had to use the bathroom. She went outside and used the bathroom. You can hear that on my recorder. And then we decided to get up and go sit by the fire. And the fire was out in front of the tent by the area where Barbara's recorder was at. And you can hear us talking on my recorder. So several months later, I decided to finally listen to that recorder and try to get the pterodactyl scream, Medusa scream is what he was calling it, to have Larry look at it and maybe have him analyze it or something. I'm at Larry's house. I go get my recorder. I'm listening. I can hear all of that we're talking about. You can hear the vehicle, and then, us talking a little bit inside, but you can't hear the Medusa scream. And I'm like, wait, you can hear us talking, which was after the Medusa scream, but you can't hear the Medusa scream. You can hear everything else. Us go outside, talking out in front of the tent, which is further away than where the Medusa scream. I went back and forth on that recorder for almost 4 hours. Never could find it. I called Barbara, and she's got it at the exact time, exact place, but she picked it up from her recorder in front of the tent, whereas my recorder was in back of the tent right by the area that it came from. You can't hear it at all, but you can hear everything else on my recorder, just not that scream.
That's strange.
But she's got it on.
Yeah.
So that's weird.
That's definitely weird. Definitely weird.
Unfortunately, my chief recorder doesn't do the scream any justice.
Yeah.
It doesn't. You hear it happening, and it sounds different, but it does not quite sound like what we heard that night. So we're getting recorders.
Yep, that's awesome. I just shared something with Spencer and Mark, and I'm sure Larry knows about it now. So when you guys are out there, ask about it. It's a new kind of recorder, new technology that's come out to where you can take something so low and you can bring it right to normal hearing without any distortion, without any white noise, and it sounds like a perfect recording. And if it's too loud, like if something screams at the top of its lung and it tops out on the recorder, you can bring that down to mid-range and it sounds beautiful, like nothing, like you're just talking like we're talking now. It's amazing stuff, and they just came out with it, and Spencer and Mark are aware of it. So
how much does it cost?
The one, they have different ones. The one I got, I'm building a parabolic with it. The one I have is $300. And
one, that'd be good.
Yeah.
But they have another. Well, this one's for a microphone and everything to be attached to it. They have a lavalier that does the same thing, and it'll pick up the same. It's the same technology, and it's like $120. And that one you can leave out in the woods and put battery packs on, so you get like 24 hours recording. But they know all about it. I'm sure if I can send you info on it too. It's pretty neat, and I think once we get it down, once everybody uses it, we'll get it out there, and people will be like, "Wow, this is what we need to get these recordings." It's really amazing stuff, and it's small. You can put it on your wrist and put like a wristband on. That's how small it is. So you can build yeah. So I'll share it with you guys afterwards, and like I said, but Spencer and Mark already know about it.
Okay.
Like I said, we share the good things between the people that we want to share with. So
Right.
So what's your favorite thing that you're looking forward to, Barb? What's your favorite new piece of equipment?
Well, I'm looking forward to having something that we can capture maybe some good images on that we could share. I mean, that's everybody's dream, I know, but we've got someone working on us. What do you call that thing?
Well, it's a night vision thermal.
Yeah, it's off old Cadillac.
Well, this one isn't.
We're getting the other one?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. We ended up the firefighter thermals that they use when they go in.
That'll be good.
Yeah.
But we want to just be able to get some images. We have FLIRs. I've got the little Scout, and it was really pretty decent when I first got it, but it seems like the longer I have it, the less it works. You just got that good, but we want something to be able to share, to show you, because if we're hearing it, we would like to get some pictures of it. And I think we can through those fantastic little blinds Sandy's all excited about.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we want better recorders just because. And we'd like to get something we all have the same thing so we know how to operate each other's.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because we kind of messed up some stuff before.
Yeah, I've deleted a lot of stuff.
Oh, I've done it myself a lot. You know, you think you're recording, and then you get home, and then nothing's been recorded the whole time. And I've been there.
Your file and you delete it. I've done that on some really good stuff.
Well, I'm excited.
I want to talk about the thing that she was mentioning that's being made for us. We've got a really good friend named Tom Crabtree that we saw. He had something that he had made and had used it at a little outing that we had gone to. We'd been invited to, and it was really cool. And he had used the Cadillac night vision off of the old model Cadillacs and had made it, put it on a pan and tilt, and had a remote control on it. It went out way out there, and you could see this itty bitty rabbit way out there, but it was pitch black where we were looking. And he could use that remote control, and it would turn 360 degrees, go up, go down. And so we talked to him, and he was going to get one of the Cadillac night visions, but then there was a firefighter thermal that the firefighters use when they're going into smoke-filled buildings and all that, and it was for sale. And the guy that was selling it had Wi-Fi with it, where you could Bluetooth it to up to 5 phones or laptops or whatever. And anyway, we got that, and I've been buying, the stuff that he said that we needed and having it delivered to him, and he's putting it together for us. And we're going to use that while we're up there. And we're thinking about taking one of those blinds. We're going to connect it to the end of one of our tents where we can go back and forth between it, cover the top of the tent and the top of the blind and the connector with a tarp, where it looks like it's just one great big tent. And hopefully, we'll have our twinkle lights going, of course, so that'll create some light. Hopefully we can move back and forth easily and see one of them or 2, 5, I don't care how many it is.
Yeah.
We want to see them. And hopefully this blind will work good for us. We've got 2 of them. One will be connected to our tent, and we're not quite sure where we're going to put this other one. We might even let one of the guys use it over there in their camp, wherever they're at. But then we've talked about taking that night vision thermal that Tom's made and cut a hole in the center of one of the blinds and have it sticking out through the top to where we can be sitting in there. And if we're able to see one and know where it's at, hopefully catch it on video, on night vision, thermal, whatever. So we're hoping for that. That's why we wanted some good equipment, is because as much activity as we get there, we really feel like we can actually capture some good images or something.
Right.
So
and since everybody seems to want to know what we're doing, we want to share better stuff, because we've always just gone in the woods for us.
Yeah, we've never started out or gone saying we're going to prove this.
Yeah,
we're going to get this. We just go for ourselves.
Interaction junkies.
Yeah.
Yeah. I know what that is.
It's an adrenaline rush.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, no. I think that thermal that he's building for you will be able to film through the tent. I think it can go through your tent, so you might not even have to cut a hole, and you might just be able to sit in there and film right through it. I'm pretty sure.
I know he said you can put a plastic sack over it, or like a black garbage bag, so maybe we can. I didn't even think about maybe. Yeah, see, there's my brain right there. Wasn't even thinking about it.
Matt Larson, you guys know Matt Larson, right, from Central Florida Bigfoot? He has one of those blinds. You might want to contact him and ask him what can be shot through them.
Okay.
So,
so
I'm sure he'll help you guys out, because he's good with all that stuff. So I know he has one and he uses it all the time and he loves it. So he would let you know what cameras you can use to get through there, and the thermal might go right through it. You might not even have to cut a hole in it.
That'd be awesome.
Yeah, it would be.
Thank you for letting us know about Matt.
Yeah,
for sure. All right.
Because we want to at least put one on the end, so when we're inside of our tent, and at least if they're going down that side, we catch a glimpse of them running through there.
Yeah.
Because it's usually cold, and when it's cold, we put extra tarps over to stay warm, so we can't see through the nylon as good as when it's warmer.
No, it's a good idea. You guys got a great strategy. I think it's going to work. I'm going to open up the questions for the ladies here, so we get that on going. Capital letters, please. So yeah, I'm excited for you guys. I will link the GoFundMe in the chat and in the description of this video afterwards, and a couple other things that Debbie wants you to check out. She actually has the footage of the bluff charge and all that we will share with you. Mr. Santariga says, great show, Chris. Great guests. Thank you, ladies.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you.
having us. And Debbie and I want to thank our sister Sandi, because she's the one that came up with the spot.
Yeah.
Well, you are very welcome, ladies. Anything I can do to help.
We'll keep her around.
Yeah, we keep her around. She's good every now and then.
We love you, Sandi.
Yeah.
I love you too. I can't wait till October.
I can't either.
But I remember how excited she was the first time she was telling us about it. So we go, well, we just got to go. So we did, and it was great.
And we just keep on going.
Yeah.
Michael Haywood just shared with us where to go. Here we go. Matt has a video demonstrating his blind, so you might want to go to his channel and check that out.
Cool.
Okay.
Thank you.
But I'm sure you guys know how to get a hold of Matt pretty easily. So if not, I'll message him for you, and I'll tell him to give you a buzz. I'm trying to do two things at once. You see how talented I am? I can't pat my head and rub my belly at the same time here.
Oh, and here's our other sister of the moon.
Hold her over here.
Miss Ellie Buggy. That's our Squatch dog, and she's really good.
She goes with us every time we go camping.
Yeah, she doesn't make any noise. And the trip we made in October, she's always been official, but the trip in October when we were up there, we would watch Ellie, and she stayed frightened all the time. She usually lays in the tent most of the time on my cot, but this trip she had to always be sitting in somebody's lap, and if she was down on the ground, her little tail would just be tucked. She was scared the whole time that trip.
And she growled one time.
Well, she growled when we went to March.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She growled one time over my shoulder, but I don't think she's growling at a Bigfoot. I think she's scared of Bigfoot.
Yeah.
So she doesn't make any noise. She's good help.
Miss Diane Fowler asks, Debbie, what is the episode on Beast TVs that you told the story of them calling your name?
Oh gosh, I don't remember the episode. I'll have to find it, Diane, and send it to you. It's also on Bigfoot Odyssey.
Yeah.
Carrie Arnold did a documentary on us, and he has all of that in there. He plays it. A lot of how we got started and what got us started.
Yeah.
Got us interested. So that's like a over 2 hour documentary.
Yeah,
and so he's got all of that in there. But I'll try to find it, Diane, and send it to you.
Okay. I will link that. I'll link Carrie's stuff in the descriptions too.
Okay.
You guys know BF Bud. You guys met him at LBL this year. No,
yeah.
He's the only other guy that I've ever heard of getting the dirt thrown at him. He got square in the chest with a whole thing of dirt, and I've never heard about it. And he told me about it. Then I heard you guys talking about it tonight. So it must be a thing, because that's the second time I've heard about the throwing of the dirt.
Oh, they love throwing at us up there in North Georgia.
It was.
I don't think they're trying to hurt us. I just think they're trying to intimidate us or let us know they're around. I don't take it as aggression, really, because when we scold them, they'll like back off. You're like, oh my goodness, we're in trouble with them, But
yeah, we did. It's like, all right now.
And Chris, what's so funny too is, like we had said, each night it gets a little less and less activity. And I remember, and I know the girls do too, like the third night or so, we had music going. And we would get up and dance, trying to get loud and get just fun, and we would say something about, okay, y'all, come on, show us you're still out there. And a few minutes later, we'd have rocks thrown at us. And so it's kind of like they understand us in some way or another, because we do talk to them. We try to interact with them. We get up, start dancing, having fun. They'll start, throwing stuff at us. And
well, I'd even not too long ago, and I asked her, I said, do you think the adults are using us for babysitters? While they're out foraging for food, they send the kids to us.
Yeah, you did. That
was my tablet is about to die. I might not be with you but another minute. I'm like on 5%, like 3% or 2%. 2%.
Oh my God.
We're going on the hour anyway, so we're almost there. Somebody just posted the episode. Here we go. Beast TV number 15, Sisters of the Moon, Con Squatch. Thank you so much for sharing that.
That's the first time we ever went on there. That's the first podcast we did.
You guys are rock stars. Everybody knows your episodes, and you're just like all over the place.
And you just don't realize how good that makes us feel, because we're just three ordinary women.
That's been very, very blessed
and we've
and lucky.
Gotten blessed with our encounters, but we kind of think we got something clicking going on between us. We drop them in.
We have like minds, and we found out when we were up there in March that we had actually all three had almost the same identical dreams when we were young. And it involved not Bigfoot, but werewolves.
Werewolves, yeah.
But we all had, it was almost identical, wasn't it, Sandy?
Oh, yeah, my goodness, yeah. When Debbie started talking about it, and I was like, you did what? What color was the house? were you under the house? I mean, it was uncanny that we had been having the same dream for years and had no idea that the other two were having the same
And
dream.
then we were young.
I'm the oldest, and I had this dream when I was about 5 years old. And
I've
I'm
had it
6
multiple
years old.
times.
I'm 6
Yeah.
years older than Sandy, and I'm 10 years older than Debbie. And we just all started having the same dream over the years. Way before, I mean,
When
Sandy
we
and
were
I
all
all
little.
knew each other, but we never talked about a dream about werewolves.
Mm-mm.
And then Debbie comes along, gets with us, and then we start talking about werewolves, and lo and behold, we've all been dreaming the same dream.
Yeah. We all had them when we were little.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it was all our houses up on either rocks or cinder blocks. And we're under the house hiding from these werewolves.
Yeah.
Of course,
That's what was
me in my dream.
freaky.
Yeah. I'm all alone in
She's
my
all
dream.
alone. Sandy was by herself in her dream, but we're under our house and we can see it's the werewolf's legs as it's circling the house. And it scared the crap out of me. I hated that dream, and it was a reoccurring dream. One
Yeah.
time I was looking out the window inside the house, and another time I was under the house, but I moved up under the porch by the concrete steps we had. And we all had that dream where we could see their legs going around in circles while we're under the house hiding from them, and didn't even know each other.
Yeah, well,
I've been getting a lot of that reading up a lot of this dream stuff, and a lot of after Florida last year, things have just been crazy for me, and there's a lot to it. I've talked to a lot of different people that I would have never talked to and I would have never believed in 100 million years, but the dream things make sense. Then it's all interlinked. These high energy areas the Sasquatch are at, it's all linked together for some reason. But maybe one day we'll figure it out. Hopefully you guys figure it out in October.
Well, we're trying, but Debbie and I were just talking today how our views on things have changed so much, even since we met each other.
Yeah.
Oh, that was it for Sandy. She is gone.
And things that we just never would imagine could even anywhere near be happening. We kind of go, well, maybe it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe that is really happening. I mean, you just can't dismiss what somebody's got to tell you.
Yeah.
Because you don't know how their experience is going to be.
Right. You got to share. Got to share amongst each other and trust each other and believe in each other, and that's how we'll all get answers. That's the only way. Work together and get rid of the troll people. The guys that put you down and say, call you a freak show and you're the circus. The circus is in town, because he hears a ghost. I got EVPs in my next video coming out of something calling help. We get out of the car, we get on the trail, you hear help. 10 minutes later, back up the trail, you hear it again, help. And I got it recorded, and I mean, why are we picking up EVPs? And I've never picked them up until after Florida. So,
do you have a special piece of equipment you're picking them up on, or just recording?
Just a Zoom recorder that I put on my backpack when I go. It's you guys are picking up you're picking up, if you think coughs, and it's actually they're speaking to you. I mean, it's all camouflage. It's a thing. That's all I can call it, is a thing.
Yeah. Can you tell us just a little bit, if you have time, about that? I think you called it a full spectrum camera.
Yeah, the full spectrum cameras that takes pictures in ultraviolet, all the spectrums of the I forgot which, the UV. I'm gonna have to send it to you. I don't have it off the top of my head, but the ghost hunters use it all the time.
Yeah.
And
so do you think if Bigfoot does cloak, do you think a full spectrum recorder or camera would pick that up?
I sure do.
Ah.
Well, I saw a camcorder. It was a full spectrum camcorder, I think.
Yeah.
It was affordable. I mean, it wasn't cheap, but it was still affordable. And do you use the camcorder, or is it a camera?
You can get I would use the camera and just take snapshots.
Okay.
That's what I would do.
Okay.
I'll send you
That's
more. I'll send you a ton of info before October or in the next couple of weeks about all this stuff. I have friends
Give
that
us enough time to order it so we can
Yeah.
order it and get it in.
yeah.
most of it's on Amazon if you guys are interested. I think the full spectrum is the way to go. I think personally, I know everybody will probably say something, but I think these guys are coming in and out. I think there's a veil. I think they can slip in between wherever they are and they can come here some way. There's no other explanation for finding one footprint and then not finding any more. I mean, you find a footprint 3 inches into the dirt, hard dirt, and then there's nothing else around it.
Yeah.
How does that happen?
That is odd.
Well, I mean, there's definitely something more to them because we've seen stuff we can't explain. One of our first trips in the area we call a killing field, we could hear the chimes being hit. And that was the first time I was scared to death, but I looked out the tent door. And Patty was in the tent with me, and I peeped out, and I could see those chimes swinging, and you could tell something was hitting them because it was with such force they were going straight up. Where you know how when chimes go up, all the little tubes start falling down around them. They weren't falling down; they were going up, and they were all perfectly parallel around the wooden ball.
Jeez.
And like something was holding it, but nothing was holding it. And there was nothing standing behind it that I could see that was hitting those chimes. Patty could hear them. And I looked at her and she was like she mouthed to me, like, what's doing that? And I was going, I don't know. And I was that's how they looked when they were swinging. And instead of swinging back, when something's hit, it'll swing backwards and keep going.
Yeah.
It stopped right there. Like something was behind it, stopping it and hitting it back up.
It was just doing 90 degree swings.
Yes. Boom.
Yeah.
And you could hear it going like bump, 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 bump. And we had it on audio. Henry had her audio and parabolic outside. We didn't know she was there. She came in the middle of the night again, but she had recorded it. And it was the weirdest thing. And it was seeing that when I finally was like, that was weird. And I don't know how to explain it, but I saw it with my own eyes. And so there's something different about them.
Something out there. We can't say that it's Sasquatch either because we don't know. We haven't seen him do it, but it's going on and it's happening in the woods. Period.
Yeah.
But well, that's awesome. I am so excited for you guys. We will be donating. I hope everybody that was here tonight will reach out and donate because they're using all the money for equipment. They're taking care of their food. They're taking care of everything they take care of. But this time they're going in, like I said, they're going in swinging. And I think they're going to come out with some evidence that are going to shake up things a little bit. So I'm excited for you guys, and I can't wait to see what happens. And I love you guys being on the show. It's awesome.
Thanks for having me.
Have a good time when you guys are here, and we'll have you back after October, and we'll get the lowdown.
We definitely.
Thank you so much. Yeah, and I'll share the bluff charge in the tent, the live video. I will share that in the comments or something. The link to that. You might have to go to the Beast page to watch it because I shared it. We went live on the Beast page, so I don't know. I think you'll probably have to go there to watch it, and then the GoFundMe link. And like you said, we're doing this because it is such an active area. We're hopeful that we can actually get something. That's why we're doing this little expedition.
Yeah, just make sure Mark and Larry send the check to Discover Sasquatch for the amount of views they get.
Thank you so much for having us.
We had a ton of great comments. We had a great show from everybody. And wait backstage for me, and I'll see you guys in about 30 seconds.
Good night, everybody.
Ladies and gentlemen, the Sisters of the Moon. Bye-bye, ladies. All right. What a great show. It's always great having the sisters here with us. These are three of the bravest women that I know. They put it on the line. They get it done. they got Sasquatch clawing at their tents. They got them pushing on the tents, and they're not screaming and yelping, and they're actually looking outside the tent to see what's doing. So please, if you can, go to the GoFundMe and help. We'll be helping. And that's all I got for tonight. I just want to say thank you for everybody for showing up tonight. It was a great show. And you know what comes next? You know what my friend Larry always says. Get in the woods, people.